Welcome to episode 9 of the Sweet Natured Cruise Cast. Hi, I'm Linz from Sweet Natured.
There's always a time like it.
Hello.
Hello, and today we're talking about cruising out of your comfort zone. And we're joined by a very, very special guest. But first, a little mood music.
Maybe. Well, as you said, Linz, today we are joined by a very special guest.
We are.
For those of you that are watching it, you will already be able to see our special guest. For those of you that are listening to the audio version, maybe not quite yet.
Yes.
But today we're joined by Dr. Paul Thornton, the author of the Joy of Cruising series of books and the very popular Joy of Cruising podcast. Welcome to the Cruise Cast, Paul.
Thank you. I am glad to be here. You know, there's nothing I like more than cruising than talking about cruising. Well, I said that wrong. There's nothing you understand what I mean. I can talk cruising all day long.
Well, I said a little bit in the intro and a little bit about you, but do you want to tell people a little bit about yourself and the Joy of Cruising?
Okay, so yes, I've been cruising for a long time, since 1988. But in what was it? Late around 2019, I wrote a book on cruising called The Joy of Cruising. I loved it. And I loved the people who I interacted with. It was sort of a compilation of cruising stories, fascinating stories, and passionate cruisers. And so it was an easy decision to write a second one, which I did, called Cruising Interrupted. And then we had the pandemic, and I was one of those that was concerned cruising may never come back. But when it did, I wrote a book, same format, anthology or compilation of fun cruising stories. And I titled this one The Joy of Cruising Again, and it sort of was in celebration of the return of cruising. And so I loved writing the books, but I can't write cruising books for the rest of my life. But I can't walk away from my passion of talking about cruising. And so I started a podcast, the Joy of Cruising podcast. And it really is essentially the same format as the books. You know, I find interesting cruise personalities like yourselves, and I interview you. And it's very likely if I was writing, a fourth cruise book, I probably would have asked you to be in it. So
It's just a minute.
Well, if you ever decide to, you know where we are. Well, today we are going to be talking about cruising, obviously, because that's what we do.
Yes.
But we're going to be talking about something a little bit different, which is cruising out of your comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of us, when we get into cruising, we were the same.
Yes,
We stuck with the same cruise line for a long time.
we did.
We had sort of dalliances, whatever, a little fling with Disney on one, and
Yeah.
we jumped on NCL for another one, but we kept going back to our Cunard because we were comfortable with it.
Yes.
We knew that we would like that,
Yeah.
and therefore, why risk it? But today we're talking about going outside of that. And I know Paul's just been on a cruise recently, on Virgin Voyages for the first time. I'm sure we'll get to hear a little bit about that as well. But we're going to start off by saying, what is your go-to holiday, your go-to cruise vacation that you feel most comfortable with? And I'll throw that over to Paul to start with. What's your one that you feel most comfortable with, Paul, given you've been cruising since the 80s?
Well, I could simply answer Virgin Voyages. But that would make for a very short response to your question. And I've only been on Virgin Voyages once. For the audience, it was my last cruise. I just got off about a few weeks ago. But I kind of flippantly say Virgin Voyages, but that's kind of an easy go-to because of some very obvious, conspicuous reasons that most of your listeners, most of your viewers understand, of course, and that is no kids.
Yes.
So I don't dislike kids. Most of my cruising past has been inexpensive cruises on Carnival. They seem to be more affordable than others with my daughters, and then with my grandkids. Later on. So I'm not one that totally disdains kids on a cruise, but for where I am in my life right now, Virgin is perfect for that.
Yeah.
The probably the other than the act of cruising itself, probably the second reason for I enjoy cruising, is the food, and not only is Virgin food included, but it is almost all of specialty quality.
Yeah.
So uh, you know there's something happening on the cruise, all the time. So to answer your question, my generic perfect cruise is one with few kids, uh, uh, great food, longer than 7 days. I grew up pretty much with short cruises. 3, 4, and 5 days, mainly because in the 80s and 90s, my wife and I owned a chain of small businesses, video stores. Remember them? Did you have those in UK?
Yes, it is.
I'm sure you did, of course. But yeah, we had a chain of video stores, and as small business owners know, you're there like 7 days a week, which we were, and so we couldn't take longer cruises than 3, 4, and 5 days. And then, once I got older and I could afford a longer cruise, and the video stores, the businesses were no longer in our lives, we started taking, regularly 7 days. But now, in the last few years, we've become accustomed to, cruises between 9 and 16 days. And so answering your question of the ideal cruise, it would be longer rather than shorter. So those are a few things that I look for. Now, you notice I haven't even mentioned destinations. Up until the last couple of years, I was one of those guys where the ship was more important than the destinations. But now I am in the active process of trying to check off bucket list items. So destinations are important. As important as a ship, but they used to not be as important. So anyway, that was a long answer to what I look for.
Well, I'll bounce in on the two islands. What's your go-to cruise type order that you feel most comfortable with?
Before Virgin, and I feel Virgin are going to get a lot of love today.
I can imagine so.
Before Virgin, I was very happy with Royal Caribbean, as it was a little bit in my heart belonged to Royal Caribbean.
Yeah.
And everything else out of Royal Caribbean then became out of my comfort zone, because I knew where the drinks were. I
You knew where the drinks. Oh, you had the bar.
Yeah, but I knew which drinks at which bars. We had that tour with us, so he was always happy. But like says, you get older, your sort of priorities change. So yeah, I'm going to say adults only on something like Virgin is very much my comfort zone now.
Yeah.
The thought of going on a ship with lots of children is now outside of my comfort zone.
It's interesting because that's what we're talking about.
Oh, yes.
Something out of it.
Yeah.
So we'll come back to
Thank you.
a little bit later on. And yeah, I'm probably going to end up just repeating what everyone said to a degree, which, the one that I'm most comfortable with now, like yourself, like Paul, as you get older and your children have grown up, you don't necessarily want to be around thousands of other people's children. And they tend to be noisier, cruise ships, which is great when you've got a young child, and it was perfect when I had someone growing up.
Yes.
But now I want to where I can relax a little bit more, not feel that I have to do anything, but be able to do anything if I want
Yes.
to.
Yeah.
So being able to do both of those is so important for me. And obviously, I know what your answer would be. Anyway, I need a big shock if it was something like
Oh,
doing the others and you like sort of cruise.
no.
Well, let's flick it the other way then, and I'll bounce it. I'll answer that two first, then we'll go to
Okay,
four.
okay.
Is there a cruise type that really doesn't appeal to you, and you can't just say one with kids?
Okay, no, I wasn't going to say that. I wasn't going to say that.
That's fine.
I was going to say it's not necessarily a cruise, it's a cruise line. But everyone we know that goes on it really enjoys it. But this skews older. And it's Fred Olsen, which is a cruise line in the UK.
Yeah.
And we see it does some lovely itineraries. They depart like an hour and a half from our house, Paul, an hour and a half, and we
Compared to 5 hours to Southampton.
compared to 5 hours away, or getting a flight, and we still haven't been on it because we feel it's too much out of our comfort zone.
What do you think is it that you think is too out of the comfort zone? What is it that doesn't appeal to you about it?
I think it's the activities. I think it's the general vibe of the ship. I think it's older.
Is that your preconception to it, or is that what you've seen?
It's well, I know Jane, our friend Jane. She went on with her mum, and Jane, who was in her 50s, was the spring chicken of the cruise. so you see, but maybe in the school holidays it's slightly different. I don't know. That to me would be cruising out of our comfort zone.
Okay.
There's similar pricing to the likes of Celebrity and such for balcony.
Yeah, well, that's always been an issue to me with Fred. I've had the same concerns you are, and this isn't my answer. I'm just kind of following up from you.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think that it's the right cruise line for me. I might go on it and think it's amazing.
Well, that's the thing.
But because it's a very similar price to going on Celebrity or Virgin or one of the ones that we've done many times before,
Yeah.
and you're in your comfort zone again, then I'd rather give them all that amount of money than this. It's not an insignificant amount to go on a ship that I might not like. So yeah, I completely get where you're coming from. What about you, Paul? What's the cruise type that doesn't appeal to you? Is that not necessarily a cruise line or a cruise ship, but anything?
Yeah, it's sort of the opposite of what I said earlier, but besides those things, no kids, and I don't want to sound, what's the right word? I don't know, a cruise snob or anything, but I'm not particularly into old ships. Probably because as I was, as I alluded to earlier, not growing up, I was an adult, but with young kids, and because we could only go on shorter cruises for the reasons I mentioned, and because, I was financially limited, we would choose a lot of small, older, these were sort of the ships that tended to go on 3 and 4 day cruises. And they were almost all at the time, they were all Carnival. So again, no knock against Carnival, but I don't like older ships, with some exceptions. I should say I have a really big exception to that. But one thing that I really hate, especially in these days and times, it wasn't an issue back, when I was cruising with my kids on Carnival, but in these days and times, it is totally unacceptable for a cruise ship or cruise line to lack an abundance of complimentary food choices. And, not to pick on them, but that's my issue with MSC. At least the MSC ship I went on, all they had to choose from to eat complimentary was the buffet and the main dining room.
Yeah.
And so, the consequence of that is that the buffet was a madhouse all the time, because no one had any place else to go. And for a lot of experienced cruisers like yourself, I'll speak for myself, like me, as beautiful as the ships are, at least, again, I was only on one ship, Meraviglia, but as beautiful as it was, as nice as the the venues were, and the events and the activities and all that good stuff. For me, it's a once and done because of, if you're coming from Carnival with Guy's Burgers or Royal, with the Park Cafe or whatever they have now on Icon, and NCL, where you could get up at 3, 4 in the morning and go get a Reuben. MSC is it for me and for many like me who are used to those other lines. It's a once and done. Their management needs to fix that. Now again, maybe it's better on other MSC ships. But anyway, that's an answer to your question. What doesn't appeal to me is a lack of choice in the complimentary food. So that's it. Older ships, again, the opposite of what I said earlier. So that would be short cruises, a lot of kids, non-virgin.
That's it.
I think the follow-up question to that, to both of you, would be, what would it take to get you on one of those cruises? We're talking about, well, first, I think probably for Paul, it is a relatively quick answer, which is more speciality, complimentary dining, more options on there. And speaking on the MSC trips we've been on, the slightly bigger ones, the newer ones, Virtuosa,
Which is Meraviglia's sister.
yeah, there's quite a lot of choices within there.
Well, is that because we were in Yacht Club, though, that we had those choices?
Perhaps.
Yeah. Yes.
So
I suspect that had something to do with it.
Yeah.
yeah, as I was sort of defending MSC then and trying to answer Paul's question for him very rudely, I then go, but everything I'm thinking of, specialty dining, I don't remember that much complimentary. But as you say, when you go on things like Royal, you've got the hot dog shacks, you've got things all over. You can go to, on Virgin, and there's the pizza that's up until 2, 3 in the morning. So there's, I think in the galley, the breakfast one's pretty much 24. So
yeah.
there's always something to get.
Yeah, we went on Virgin's. We went up to the galley in Virgin, on Virgin, some odd times, because first of all, when on the transatlantic, as you explained to me when I had you guys on to talk about transatlantics, the time changes, and so by the end we were like 6 hours difference than our normal time zone. And we're big basketball fans. So the NBA playoffs were on. So if we wanted to watch a game on the U.S. West Coast, we were watching the game at 6 in the morning, 5, 6 in the morning. And so we would go to the galley and get us, one of those charcuterie boxes or bento boxes, and stop at the bar and get a drink. And so we're like eating that kind of food at 5 and 6 in the morning because we're up watching the games. So that was nice on Virgin. Nothing like that on most other lines, but especially on MSC.
So MSC would need to have more choices for you in order for you to be able to consider it again.
Yes, not a lot. That's why I said I did a sort of a reflections podcast, and I simply said, I know Meraviglia is coming up on a dry dock. What would it take for them to add a place that a complimentary food place during dry dock? I think that would. Like I told you, there's a lot of people who like to use the term once and done. That I think would be the difference between being once and done or not, because because, I thought MSC was solidly, I think I gave them a B minus, because there were a lot of things they did well, but it's too bad that that's what I remember, and I won't go back on it.
Yeah. I mean, we'll flip the same question back to you then. So talking about Fred Olsen, what would it take for you to go on one of those cruises?
A price that I felt comfortable with.
What would that price be then?
It can't be £2,500 per person for a balcony
It has to be somewhere around maybe £1,500.
per person for a balcony.
So if Fred were £2,500 to £3,000 for the two of us to go, that would be enough for you to take a chance?
Yeah, it has to be. It has to be cheaper than Disney.
It's better to go on it.
Well, I mean, that was one of the things we looked at. So we were looking at September for this
Yeah.
year, and we were looking at Disney's British Isles cruise.
Yes.
And Fred Olsen was more expensive. And we're like,
It's
how
crazy.
can that be that it's that much fun? So is it just as simple as
If
you just need to see it a little bit cheaper?
I need to not feel that if I say to you, come on, let's cruise out of Newcastle, which I say is an hour and a half from our house, and do the fjords, because we love the fjords.
Yeah, we do.
But get on this shit, but it has to be, because if we hate it, I can't have it that we paid so much money for it, because the guilt will kick me.
Yeah, you'll be thinking about that the whole cruise.
The whole cruise.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that Fred do well, and we just touched on sort of complimentary dining there, and that appeals to me, and I am concerned about, is the demographic right for us on there at this time, and we'll have it board, etc. But I like that thought for going on other cruise lines. Is that their specialty dining's only £10 each?
Yeah.
Compare that to Celebrity, you're almost at the Virgin level where it's included. At £10 per person, that's a no-brainer for you to try it.
Yes.
And it's apparently very good.
But they are quite incredibly complicated drinks package, which gives them a negative in my book.
Yeah.
I just want to know that I can go to a bar and order something if I wrote a drinks package.
And what they do as well, Paul, is that when you book the spa you go as a couple to the spa, and you just pay for you. You just book it, and the whole spa is for you. All of it. Nobody else is in there, so you get it all to yourselves for 2 hours.
Which is really appealing. Cheryl Lindsay, French Stars went on it and loved it.
And Kendall's cruising, yeah.
So, there is an appeal to that.
Yes.
But he just needs to lower the risk of guilt to you. That's all it is.
Yeah.
That's fair enough then. So, let's look at a different way then.
Oh.
So, and I'll go back to Paul first with this one. Right. Which cruise ship were you not were you not really expecting to enjoy? Or obviously out of your comfort zone. But in the end of it, absolutely loved it.
When I pick a cruise ship, I research it to death, and so I can't imagine going on one that I wasn't expecting to like, and I liked it. I guess the closest now, here I am, I've been kind of hitting hard on MSC, but now I'm going to give credit to MSC because, if I had to answer one ship, I would say on MSC Meraviglia, because the reviews that I read prior to the cruise, often on the podcast, I'd say they were mixed. What I wouldn't say, because I was booked on it, is they were sometimes brutal.
Yeah.
Absolutely brutal. And especially about the food. Now I already talked about the lack of complimentary food in the daytime, but I went to the main dining rooms and they were okay. They were on par to me. The main dining room was on par with its direct competitors, and to me, direct competitors for them would be Royal, Carnival, NCL. Sort of mid to tier lines. So their main dining room was about on par. Their specialty restaurants were on par or better. So So there was much to enjoy about the ship. I mean, I gave it a B minus. I didn't give it like a C or a D, you know. So, and plus, you know, it was a Christmas cruise with my family. You can't really go wrong with that. So maybe that helped to make MSC palatable, acceptable. You know, I had heard crazy stories about, and I mean crazy stories about their customer service, and so I finally had a chance to test that out. Not intentionally, but you know, I couldn't. It had to do with my connectivity, internet connectivity, and you know, I finally went to customer service, and you know, they tried to give me the same kind of service that I have read so much about, and I went into my crazy consumer mode, and every person I talked to, they were like scripted. Their responses were scripted, and every person I talked to, I basically would say, "Let me talk to your boss." And then finally, I got a person who had a uniform on. I don't know how to read rank. She was an officer, and we had a long discussion. But at the end of the discussion, I said, "Let me speak to your boss." And I suspect her boss was captain. so all I know is she made a phone call to the internet department. She walked away from me, so I don't know what she said. But then she came back and told me to go to them. They fixed the issue, and I didn't pay any money. You know, because for the issue to be fixed, they were telling me I would have to buy another wire. You know, it's a long story. So you know, even what I dreaded most, their famed or infamous customer service, it came through. You know, a little bit of scaring people because I got into my act, and I will say, late that night, I got a phone call, and it was customer service. And so, as much as I have heard about customer service, and as much as I have knocked customer service, I have never had a customer service on any line call me hours later to gauge my satisfaction. So even though I knocked them earlier in the discussion, now I'm saying that was a line that was better than I was prepared for, even though I'm calling it once and done.
Listen,
I'll flick over to them then with the same question. So, what cruise were you most expecting to not enjoy, or the word it's not in your comfort zone, but ended up loving it?
Cunard's Queen Elizabeth, our first Cunard ship.
That would have probably been one.
Yeah, because I thought it was going to be too formal. I thought the people were going to be stuffy.
Did you think it was going to be too formal for you, or we were they were too formal for me, and therefore I wouldn't enjoy it, and therefore you enjoy it? Because you dressed up like, and you like getting that show, whereas I'd rather be in a t-shirt and jeans
and shorts. Maybe I just thought I thought that people might be a little bit stuffy, a bit snooty. Everybody was lovely. Everybody liked dressing up. It was great.
Yeah, I'll go along with you on it. I mean, I have got a slightly different answer to different cruise line as well, which I'll give in a second. But I was so apprehensive about doing it.
I know.
Cunard, and you've been talking to me for years about trying it, and for me it was just like it's too formal. It's going to be too stuffy. This is not my idea of a holiday, being in a shirt and tie all the time.
No,
it's not that. That's the misconceptions behind. But no, I completely agree. Just mine, with what people know about us now and what we've already talked about in this, will sing somewhat I like. But the one that I really didn't expect to enjoy, and we even got in touch with some of the cruise vloggers to check a couple of stuff beforehand, was Virgin.
yeah.
Because how Virgin was initially emphasised, you have to bear in mind, when I'm talking about this, we went on Virgin's second ever cruise, because technically they had a press cruise before the pandemic hit.
And then the World Cup.
Well, they never did a passenger cruise.
No.
So the other people that had been on it, and we didn't have the channel out.
No.
We haven't been on that.
No.
So it's supposed to the people that what was this one? They've only been like for a day, so
Yeah.
they haven't really got any idea. But Virgin were advertising it essentially as being for the 18 to 30 crowd. It was like Club Ibiza. It were, aimed at the young people. And I was like, this is so not me. I am not.
Even down to not having the beds made up, it was the sofas. It's
Yeah.
like,
I'm like, well, I don't want to spend thousands of pounds to sleep on a glorified sofa bed. But that's how they went excited. That was that initial pitch. And I think then over the pandemic period where, cruising shut down globally, they had a chance to rethink about how the passage worked.
and the feedback we got.
Yeah, and they had a very unique opportunity in that they're a brand new cruise line. They've got all this feedback without a passenger ever setting on for a paying passenger, and they're a year and a bit to fix it.
Yeah.
So by the time we got on there, the things that were my concern weren't the thing.
No.
Yeah, I don't know why. In my head and from the advertising that it advertised as an 18 to 30 type thing. So I don't know any 18-year-old who could afford to run it anyway. Maybe some of the really good YouTubers are 18.
Yeah.
But it was just how it was portrayed. Obviously, we've been on it. We've been on every ship. We've been through something like Panama.
Yes.
And it is our go-to one, and won it again in August, just for the 4-night one. So it's I would prefer a longer one, but it's I'm called a weekend cruise, so it's better than nothing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's that for me.
Yeah.
The 18 to 30 thing, that's funny because I ended up, I was talking to this guy that I became buddies who went on the cruise, and told him I was writing a kind of reflections podcast. And so one of the things that I wanted to chat about on the podcast was the average age.
Yeah.
And so I had a number in mind, but I wanted to ask him what he thought to see how close my number was to his. So I surmised that the average age was 55. And his, without telling him that, his response to me was between 55 and 60.
Wow.
So 18 to 30-year-olds would have been very obvious on that cruise. They would have stood out, like seeing kids on a really, really, like the young kids on a really, really long cruise. In fact, I just interviewed someone yesterday who's on that Royal Caribbean Ultimate World Cruise, and I was shocked because she told me there was like 20 kids on board.
Oh, good grief.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I said, what are they, homeschooled? And she said a lot are, actually.
Yeah.
Well, she didn't say a lot. She said some are. And then some are younger than school age. So
Yes.
But I was very surprised. But anyway, that's, 18 to 30-year-olds would have stood out like that on the Virgin cruise I was on.
Yeah, and it's been similar to everyone we've been on. But not only the ones we've been on, friends of ours who've been on have said exactly the same. And there was a comment that Virgin themselves put out the other day that the average age of their cruises is 55.
Oh, okay. Well, I hope I hadn't seen that when I said that to the guy and was somehow, subconsciously influenced by that, but I just guessed 55.
No, that's only the last couple of days, Paul.
So you're
okay.
right.
So you maybe imagine if just listened to you and took it back.
Save themselves the money they spent, some marketing research company.
Yeah.
Hey, now let me ask you a question. When you went on Virgin very early on, did Virgin kind of use the Diva as a brand? Was the Diva very prominent in their advertising?
No.
No.
That's not. Much more so now, and obviously you just did a podcast with one of the Divas. But no, they weren't prominent at all at that point. By the second cruise, they were more so.
Yeah.
And by the time we went on Resilient last year, really prominent. They were essentially the co-host on the
Without being.
they were doing a lot of the major things.
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
That's definitely a position that they've developed
yes.
massively over that point. So just wrapping up the topic on them, and we've kind of covered off these a little bit, but are there any sort of common cruise misconceptions that you think people have that are stopping them out of the comfort zone, or that are keeping them in the comfort zone? I'll pass that to, let's pass ours off first.
Clearly, well, I don't know if this is a misconception. There is a perception. I have it, even though it's on my bucket list. You alluded to it earlier that Cunard is too formal. So I don't know that that's a misconception because I haven't been on it. I still kind of strongly believe that, even though the response I get from people like yourselves, and mostly from people from UK, is they don't deny that it's formal. They just kind of say it's not that bad or something like that.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm just looking for excuses, even though it's on my bucket list. I'm looking for excuses not to go because I bought a tux, and it's been, I don't know, 8 years. I think I bought it for my daughter's wedding, and so I know I ain't getting in that. Excuse my bad grammar. And then at work, towards the end, before I retired, we were casual so much. I used to have a lot of suits. I worked either corporate or higher ed, big higher ed. So I had a lot of suits, and I went to a lot of meetings and all that stuff that people who wear suits do. So I still have my suits, but now it's been about 4 years since I wore them. And again, I think maybe what I'm saying about Cunard is because I don't want to have to buy stuff, because I don't think I'll be able to get in anything that I have that I would need to wear on Cunard. So
Yeah,
I don't
I
know.
mean, that's definitely not a misconception. And I think it is, as I said for myself as well, it was the reason I didn't want to go on there, 'cause I thought you had to wear a suit to go for breakfast. I didn't think you had to wear a bow tie, but I genuinely you had to put a jacket on if you went into the main dining room. And
Mhm.
that's true on certain nights, on the gala nights, but if you're on a 7-night cruise, you'll have 2 gala nights, and it means you put a jacket and a shirt on. You don't have to wear a tie
You do have to wear a
on
tie.
gala night.
No, you do have to wear
Really, you have to wear them on gala night.
Oh, no, it's only in the double do night, sorry.
So you
Okay.
just the normal shirt. During the day, up until that evening period, it's exactly the same as any
Yeah.
other cruise ship.
Yeah.
Mhm.
People are dressed exactly the same, going about life in exactly the same. Drinking in the bars, taking part in trivia, doing all bits and pieces that you do on any other cruise line.
Yes.
So during the day, wearing shorts and flip-flops is okay.
Yes, perfect.
Yeah,
That's
because
what we
that's
wore.
Yeah.
that's my typical cruise uniform: shorts and flip-flops.
And it's only in the evening where it changes, and
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock onwards when there's normally a couple of bar areas where certainly on gala nights, if you're not in the appropriate attire,
Mm-hmm.
you can't go into them until much later in the evening. And some of the restaurants, but things like the buffet, King's Court buffet, even on gala night, you can go in there and all the time. You don't have to get dressed up. So if you don't want to take part, you don't have to. But Cunard probably has a much higher percentage of people who take part in the formal nights, in the high 90%,
Yes.
compared to, say, Royal Caribbean when it might have a formal night or celebrity, where you might be down at 40-50%
Yeah.
take part.
Yeah.
So I suspect that's in there. And they do hire tuxedos on board as well.
They do.
So you don't have to
Oh,
buy
okay.
one. Hire one. I don't know how much there, but I'm sure Google will help you with it.
Now, let me ask a question. Let's say that you go on Cunard and gala night comes, and you really just are not feeling dressing up. Can you go eat somewhere?
Yeah.
The buffet.
You go to King's Court to the buffet.
Okay.
So if you don't want to get dressed up, you absolutely don't have to.
So then I literally can do a week's cruise on Cunard without bringing a suit.
Yeah, absolutely.
You could. That's I'm just trying to think who recorded that album on Cunard, because
Ed Sheeran.
Ed Sheeran and his producer, because his producer doesn't fly, but they did have tuxedos, so they just were either in the buffet or the suite.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. See, I'm an Ed Sheeran kind of guy.
Yeah, absolutely. And room services included.
Yeah, room service is included. So
You don't want to go out.
yeah,
Stay.
good.
Okay. So you just moved Cunard up the bucket list. So yeah, that was a misconception on my part then.
But it's a very common one for Cunard. People believe that, and I think their own marketing lends itself to that as well.
It sure does.
You know, when you see butlers there with the white gloves on when you get on,
Like this.
and a band as you get on and stuff, everyone on the show is always immaculately dressed.
In an evening gown.
They never show people like me or maybe Paul in shorts and flip-flops and a T-shirt.
Yeah.
Not at night.
No, not at night. No.
So, but yeah, it's how they do it.
Yeah.
Excuse me. But let's move on to the news stories.
Okay.
So, we have 3 news stories, so it'll be really interesting to get both your takes on these.
Right.
The first one, a little bit different to the sort of ones we normally talk about on here. So, Norwegian Cruise Line.
Yes.
We've talked about them a little bit in this already today. Their new chief financial officer, Martin Camper, has just announced in the last couple of days that the cruise line needs to make $300 million worth of cost cuttings.
Wow.
And it's got to make $300 million of savings over the next 3 years, with 2/3 of it, they've said, are going to come from operating costs and the rest from marketing, sales, and admin. So, in other words, 200 million of that has got to come from operating costs, which just seems like a staggering amount of money. And I'm just curious to take both your takes in terms of, 1, what you think about that, and 2, where would they save those sort of things from operating?
Good grief.
Without it really affecting the passenger experience.
Well, I hadn't heard that, and very disappointed to hear that. Mainly because I have a NCL cruise booked, so it's on Prima, which I understand is a very nice ship. I can't imagine how well. I guess I can imagine it. I don't know what that's going to come out of. Haven't they already cut down the number of times the person cleans your room?
Yeah, there were a couple of things over the last couple of years went around sort of optimizing sort of staff time and costs attached to that. So I think that when it said from operate, we all know, you've run your own chain of businesses. There's always ways that you can save little bits of money without impacting customer experience. We're saving $200 million over the next couple of years.
Yeah,
that's saved without getting rid of staff or getting rid of perks or reducing quality of food. And I'm not saying they're going to do any of that because they haven't said. All they've said is it's going to come from operating costs.
And that's cutting into the bone. I mean,
yeah. Oh goodness. Yeah. For me, one way they could do it, and everybody will be super cross if they do, is if you book the Haven and you have Haven dining, you've just got one menu with one selection for the entire cruise.
But that's what we've already done.
Yes, in the Haven. Does that mean they're going to introduce that into the main dining room? Well, they just have signature items in the main dining room, so there's not the choice anymore. Because why would you?
Wow, that would be a major thing if they had a single menu for the entire cruise.
Yeah,
what they essentially do for the people that are paying even more than it. Wow, I'm not even giving that some thought. That would be, yeah.
That's
then you just saved them the money, well, not Martin Camper can pay us our commercial line on and take just a percentage of that. That'll be fine.
Yeah.
But don't they already nickel and dime you a lot? I mean, I've been on several NCL ships, but this is the first ship that I'm going on that has like the go-karts. and they already charge you for that, right?
Yeah, and it's not cheap either.
No.
Yeah, and I hear they charge for mini golf and
Yeah.
dartboards. So this is all before this
Yeah.
this $300 million edict. I mean, I know
Yeah.
those things that they've done are revenue generating things, but it doesn't. I'm not happy to hear that, only because I know that I have a cruise coming up with them, and it's probably going to impact that cruise.
It'll be really interesting to sort of keep an eye on all that news, because as I said, that's not normally the sort of thing we cover, because we tend to cover the more lighter news.
Yeah.
But when I saw it, I was like, yeah, I feel like I want to talk about that. Anyway, let's move on to something that I know we will all much enjoy talking about more.
Okay.
News story 2, and this impacts both of us, because we're going on them in just a few days' time. Paul's going on them shortly. Princess Cruises.
Yes.
So they've just announced that they're launching a series of Love Line, because Princess is the Love Line,
Yeah.
premium liquors. And if you've got the premium drinks package, you get them. But these are from celebrities such as Mario Rita and his Prosecco gun, Pitbull, and his vodka.
Okay.
Jason Aldean, who I have to admit wasn't familiar with, but he's a country singer.
Okay.
Apparently, has some really good wines.
Okay.
And they're now doing that. That's on Sun Princess now already.
Wow.
So I know Paul's due to go on Sun Princess, I think, next year. And we're going on Ruby Princess in 3 days' time. So I don't know if they'll be on there by the time we get there.
No, I hope to see.
But what they've said is it'll be across the entire fleet by summer.
Mm-hmm.
So it's nearly summer, so maybe we get some Pitbull vodka recently. But I'm interested to know your thoughts on it, because we obviously came back from Sun Princess recently, and one of the things that we didn't say was they need more drinks and more cocktails, having just launched 200 new cocktails, and we didn't get halfway through the menu in the time that we were on there. Do you think that that's good, man? Did they need it?
I don't think they need it on Sun Princess, if I'm honest. I could see maybe a fancy Prosecco in the Love by Brito restaurant, but obviously, I mean, the thing is, if it was on, I would try it. I would try Pitbull's vodka. I'll go back.
Well, let me ask Paul. Oh, does Pitbull's vodka being available on Princess drive that needle more for you to go on them even more?
No. No. Of the spirits that you mentioned, I could imagine me on my cruise on Sun is 14 days long, and I do have the premier package. I wouldn't miss any. I mean, I don't plan to try any of them.
No. Well, they're included when you do get on there, so maybe given you got the package, give it a go. Players. We've not managed to try Pitbull's vodka. Well, no. But they
Yeah, nothing. I heard nothing compelling. Now, one thing I've noticed, a little off topic, but it's still about Sun Princess. So, in your photo, and then in a couple other photos that I've gotten from people who have been on Sun Princess, they have the Aperol spritz stand, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that looks like something that I would try.
Yeah.
I mean, anything. What was special about that little stand? Was that a pop-up, or was that always there?
No, most of the time when it wasn't in use, and it was kept down the back of the sea terrace. This is the other side of the door, strapped up and away. And then they wheel it out when the weather's nice or when it's a sea day.
Okay.
Okay. And you got them serving from there. I didn't love it. Yeah, we did have an apple, as well as having our page stuff.
Yep.
But yeah, I think what Princess have done certainly with Sun Princess, and for me this is where it leads into it, is that trying to get that celebrity branding down a lot of what they've done. You've got the Spellbound by Magic Castle.
Yeah.
You know, the Love by Grito.
Yeah.
You've got the Kai Sushi by Metallica. You've got all these various sort of celebrity brands attached. And I think this is just another bit of the...
They're just sprinkling some stardust.
Yeah. And I think that's all.
Yeah.
I'm very much into celebrity branding with food. Alcohol, it just, you can just kind of buy, a line out of a distillery and slap your name on it. Food, it's more, I don't know, seems more meaningful, like on Carnival's Excel class. They have the I don't know if you've been on Mardi Gras or so. Okay, well, anyway, they have a really nice setup by what's the guy in Lagasse, Emeril Lagasse, and so you're eating. I've eaten at his places at a couple of his places in New Orleans, and when I eat there, I feel like I'm eating at one of his spots in New Orleans. So that's a little more meaningful to me in terms of celebrity branding. It's more with food than it is with alcohol. Alcohol just kind of seems opportunistic for celebrities. So
He does. I'm sure that some of it's tied into other agreements that they've had by being looked at this on.
You will stop my Prosecco.
We will use mine if I'm going to put my name. I don't get the pick up, but that's quite random.
Now, you've mentioned Love by Brito a couple of times. When you were on Sun, was that open yet?
No.
I didn't think so. Okay, because I'm in conversation now with Rudy Solomon to come back on to talk specifically about Love by Brito.
Wow.
So I think that's going to happen soon. But I didn't remember you guys mentioning it when I had you on the podcast, and I wanted to see. Oh, I didn't know you went there. Well, how was it? So
no, they were waiting on the art arriving, and it was coming via shipment, and because of the troubles in sort of the Red Sea and the Cunard coming on that way, it had to reroute. So rather than getting there when it expected to by shipping, it will learn, and therefore they couldn't open the restaurant without all the art installation. So that's why it wasn't over when we were on there.
But again, that's celebrity branding, and I am looking forward to try that. Now, is that going to be one of those super pricey places?
Yeah, that's the most, along with Spellbound, it's the most expensive one. I think it's $149.
That just feel, I think that's about right.
Okay, $149 a person?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, that's doable. It's better than, what's the Empire Summer Club on Icon?
Yeah.
That's nearly double that.
Yeah.
So
comparison, it's good.
The
final news story.
Okay.
Going back to someone you mentioned already in the end, who, the Touch Your Heart, All Caribbean Group.
Oh.
They've just announced that they are extending and doing loyalty match across all of their brands again. Now, in the past, they used to do this.
I remember they used to do
that when Asmara was part of the brand.
Now, who's this? I missed the leader.
This is Royal Caribbean.
Okay.
If you got, for instance, diamond status with Royal Caribbean, they're going to automatically move you to that same status equivalent level with Silver Seas and with Celebrity, effective from June the 5th.
Okay.
Just 4 days' time.
Yeah.
They're automatically doing it. So if you're matched into any one, if you're enrolled in any one of them, they will create you the other one with your.
So have they parked that then for a while?
Yeah, it's not been on there. So this is a new announcement. And what they'll give you is whichever, if you've been with all three, whatever you've got the highest tier at, they'll map that across.
Okay, I understand.
Which should seem sensible.
Yeah. They don't do it with Carnival.
No.
They don't get it from P&O and Princess and.
No, and that's where my question was going to be on this. There's not really anything to comment because nobody's going to say, well, that's a terrible idea. But it was, do you think that other cruise family groups, such as MSC, because it's MSC and now Explorer,
well, MSC match
Carnival
Group need to do
it, should they be doing it as well?
Yes.
That's a very short answer to that question. But
very profound response. Yes.
I just find it weird that they don't do this already.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, you just mentioned there within Carnival groups, a brilliant one as an example of really diverse ships. So you've got Carnival, you've got Costa, you've got Princess, you've got P&O, you've got Cunard. I can't think of a group that, and I think also within there you've got Seaboard, or Region,
Wonderful.
within there. You've got such a massive spectrum of choices from, the more entry brand, if we can call that with Costa, up to the ultra luxury 7-star cruising. And
But then
why
you got Howell in there.
Yes.
Horn America?
Yeah, of course.
So why would you not want to keep people in the group?
Right.
Like the status matching it. If someone we spent a lot of time cruising Royal Caribbean and then with diamond status.
Yeah.
But then that got transferred to Sunday,
Yeah.
which is great.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we're all in.
We're fixing all everything.
We've fixed everything. We've fixed the operations on Norwegian, just single menu in the dining room. That'll be an incredibly popular one, and too well done. People can come back and thank you for that later. And we've just sorted everything out. But that's bringing us up towards the end of the podcast, which so we're coming up to an hour. That's absolutely flown by. Paul, we'll wrap things up a bit. Is there anything you'd like to tell us that you've got coming up? What's the next podcast that we can all be excited about listening to?
So I have a couple of podcasts kind of all related to river cruising coming up. Well, actually, some have already taken place, and then a couple more coming up. And that's that's kind of selfish on my part because our next cruise is a river cruise. So I can't get enough of river cruise content right now. So yeah, a lot of that. I'm trying to think, is there anyone? I told you that I'm working on Rudy again. Got an interesting podcast coming up with a woman who I'm sure I think I mentioned it earlier. This Ultimate World Cruise that Royal Caribbean has done. So there's sort of a subculture building of content creators, influencers, whatever you want to call it. Some, but not all, who are on that cruise, and they've become very popular. And so I've got probably the most prominent of those, and she's on the cruise. I mean, she's been on the Today Show. She's been in USA. She's been like in every top media outlet has contacted her. But they usually ask her like, one question or something very, very superficial, because she mentioned this after our interview, because the interview was very in depth. So that's going to be fun to listen to. Someone who went on the cruise ship with maybe not even triple digits in followers on Instagram. I'm sorry, not Instagram, TikTok. And now she has 179,000 followers.
Wow.
And that, and again, she's only been on the cruise for 6 months. So all of that growth has happened in 6 months. So that's going to be kind of fun.
Yes.
That'll be really interesting to listen to. That the whole sort of ultimate cruise has created this subculture. And we've listened to several people and watched several videos on that.
Yeah.
So we will definitely be tuning in again.
Yeah.
That sounds like an absolutely fascinating one. But that brings us up to time.
I was just going to say, going back to a question that you asked us, kind of what we don't like in a cruise, and I kind of said, an old ship, a small ship, and then a later question you had was, what would it take to get you on one of those ships? Well, this would be an example. This World Cruise is on Serenade of the Seas. I don't know exactly its age, but I know it's not a new ship, and it's a very small ship. As Royal Caribbean ships go. So both of those are kind of in my no category, but I would have loved to have been on this Ultimate World Cruise. My wife would not have, though. So,
but as you said, for you now, it's also about the destination, not just the ship. And an Ultimate World Cruise is a pretty hard one to pass up on if it's something that ever becomes available to you.
Yep. Yeah, I went on the oldest ship in NCL's fleet is the NCL Spirit, And again, I said I don't like to go on old ships. I went on that ship, but it had the best itinerary of any cruise I ever took, and that was from Hawaii to Alaska. So there's another example of what would it take to get you on one of those ships that you don't particularly care for. And plus, even though it's their oldest ship in the fleet, it just had $150 million refurbishment. So inside the ship, everything looks brand new.
Yeah, you can make a lot of good stuff with 150 million.
Yeah, I think you can.
That's it. Well, that brings us up to the end of the podcast. It just reminds us to say, cheers, Paul. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for joining us. Yes, darling.
Cheers, friends.
And thank you for listening, and have a lovely day.
Thank you very much. Thank you, audience, for listening.